The Airbus A380s have made an immense comeback in 2023, considering the fact that it's back into demand after the pandemic. What else do we know about it? Let's find out. Emirates has said that it wants to place an order for up to 36 Airbus A380s. Airbus had threatened to stop making the A380 if it couldn't come to a deal with Emirates over $16 billion. The arrangement gives Airbus a chance to change its mind. Emirates is the only airline that uses the A380 as its main plane. At the Dubai Airshow in November of last year, Emirates was expected to place an order for more A380 jets. Despite that, it chose later to order 40 Boeing 787 Dreamliners. Emirates has revealed that it will buy 20 of the Airbus A380, which is the biggest passenger plane in the world, and has options to buy 16 more. Shipments should start in 2020, according to plans. Emirates is now the biggest customer for the plane. They already have 101 of them in the air, and they have ordered 41 more. John Leahy, who is in charge of sales for Airbus, said on Monday that the company would have to end the A380 project if Emirates did not place another order for the plane. Airbus has had trouble getting airlines to buy its troublesome Super Jumbo plane, so this deal is very important for the company. It has been forced to cut its production by a lot. A few years ago, it made 27 planes a year, but this year it will only make 12. It thought that it would only be able to send 8 in 2019. Emirates is by a large margin the plane's most important customer. Without its help, Airbus would have to stop making planes at its factory in Toulouse and eventually stop making planes there altogether. The project has been given the resources it needs to keep going. Airbus said that the order it got today makes it even more sure that it will keep making the A380 for at least another 10 years. At that time, the growth of the aviation market could have given investors a new reason to put money into it as a business. The Airbus A380 was made so that a lot of people could fly between hub airports that are very busy and only have a limited number of takeoff and landing times. In the past few years, it hasn't been needed because airlines have switched to using smaller planes that use less fuel to move people, often on straight routes that connect secondary airports. But if the market keeps growing at such a fast rate, there is a good chance that airport traffic will become a big problem again, especially in Asia. The A380 might then start to show what it can really do. The Airbus A380 passenger jet was first thought of as a possible alternative for the Boeing 747 at the beginning of the 1990s. The project didn't get going in earnest until 1993. Based on what the client asked for, the plane has 2 levels of seating and can come with a variety of services, such as bars, lounges, beauty salons, and duty-free shops. Before this deal was signed, the Airbus A380 had already been ordered 317 times since it came out in 2007. In October 2007, it took its first trip on a commercial plane, flying from Singapore to Sydney on a route run by Singapore Airlines. In 2008, Qantas started taking bookings for the planes that would fly from Melbourne to Los Angeles. The Airbus A380 has been flown by both Air France and Lufthansa, but Emirates has been the airline's most reliable and important customer over the years. That's a very strong comeback, but this was only for Emirates. Now let's talk about other airlines that will be flying the Airbus A380s. All Nippon Airways, or ANA. All Nippon Airways has a fleet of 3 Airbus A380s called the Flying Honu. This fleet is often called the Flying Honu. These extra-large planes are only used for trips between Tokyo Narita and Honolulu. When ANA got its first Airbus A380 in March of 2019, it became the 15th airline in the world to run the world's largest passenger jet. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, 2 of the A380s had to stay on the ground, and the flight from Tokyo Narita to Honolulu had to be canceled. Also, when the third and last A380 was delivered to the company during the flu outbreak, it was put away right away. This was taken care of right away. All 3 of ANA's A380s that are part of the Flying Honu fleet have Hawaiian-themed paint jobs. The sky, the ocean, and the sunset are each represented by one of these liveries. 2 of the 3 Airbus A380s are already back in service, and the third one, which has an orange paint job that looks like a Hawaiian sunset, will soon join the fleet as well. The third Super Jumbo had a successful test flight on December 27th. This was the last step before it started carrying people. British Airways. British Airways is one of the companies that takes the Airbus A380 the most seriously. The airline wants to bring back all of its A380s until at least August 2027. This makes it one of the most dedicated airlines to the plane. Since the first Airbus A380 was recently given to the airline, more A380 flights have been made by the British flag carrier than in the same months in the past. Because the company now has more than one Airbus A380, this is the case. British Airways is about to put its last A380 back into service. This is because it is now being fixed up. At the moment, British Airways A380s fly to Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Doha, Dubai, Johannesburg, Los Angeles, Miami, San Francisco, and Washington Dulles. Etihad Airways. After being worried for months while the pandemic was at its worst, the Super Jumbos are finally looking forward to getting back to work with the Abu Dhabi-based airline, which will start flying to London this summer. The plan is for these tips to start in June. The fleet of planes owned by Etihad Airways has 10 Airbus A380s. When service on the A380 starts up again, Etihad will give its 3 different cabin classes as well as the Residence, which is the best cabin on the market. All of them have the same 498-seat layout, with 2 Residence suites, 9 first-class flats, 70 business seats, and 417 economy smart seats. Aside from that, each flat has 2 bedrooms. The last carrier on our list to say that the A380s will be coming back is this one. Etihad has chosen to temporarily return 4 of its huge planes because it has a rise in demand for flights across the airline's network and customer requests to bring back the planes that everyone loves. This change will keep happening for a while. After the flu outbreak, the first flight of an Etihad A380 is scheduled for July 15th. Starting in July, it will offer 1 flight to London every day. Starting in August, it will offer 2 trips to London every day. Korean Air. Korean Air has been operating half of its A380 fleet, and the company has just recently started hiring pilots to work on A380s full-time, and it's a good comeback for A380s this year. In 2019, Korean Air used its big jets to fly to Bangkok, Heathrow, JFK, Los Angeles, Paris, Sydney, and Taipei. When the pandemic was at its worst, all of the A380s had to stay on the ground. Even though the rest of the fleet was still grounded, the first Korean Air A380 was able to get back in the air and fly to Guangzhou, China once a week. Korean Air uses its A380s to fly to New York, JFK, and Bangkok right now. Qantas. Many people wondered if the Australian flag carrier's Airbus A380 fleet, which was moved to California for long-term storage during the COVID-19 pandemic, would ever fly again. But because the desire for air travel came back faster than expected, Qantas moved up the first return date for the A380. The first A380 went back into service in January. Qantas uses 6 Airbus A380s to fly to London Heathrow via Singapore and Los Angeles right now. Now Qantas is upgrading because it needs aircraft for expanding its services, and Airbus A380 is definitely making its route this year. Thanks for watching this video. That was all from our side. What do you think about the Airbus A380s? Let us know in the comment section down below, and we'll see you soon.